Have your reds been feeling a little faded lately? If you're wondering why they're not getting as vibrant as they used to, I'm going to share with you why and how you can fix that. My name's Gilad Goldstein. I'm a Redken artist based in New York City, and today I'm going to share with you all about Shades ALK. If you love Redken education, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and drop a comment below of what you want to learn next. But for now, let's learn. Thanks for coming in, Mickey.
Thank you for seeing me.
Yeah, love your hair.
Thank you.
So what are we going to be doing today?
Well, mostly I'd like the gray coverage.
Some gray coverage in there. And then I also see you've got like a natural copper color happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe a little more pop or vibrancy.
Make it a little bit more vibrant. Yeah, I think that would be pretty. Today, I've got Redken Shades ALK, and it's a liquid cream demi-permanent color. It's not going to be as aggressive as the traditional gray coverage color is going to be, but it's going to provide that full coverage. And I'm also excited about it because it's going to help add some vibrancy to your copper.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Believe it or not, it'll actually leave your hair feeling twice as shiny and also a lot softer.
Okay.
The first thing we're going to do is get this hair sectioned into 4 quadrants. I think when you're doing retouches in the salon, sectioning is really key. So many times people skip this step, but it really helps with my speed. That's kind of my favorite thing about it. First off, it looks organized, your guests are trusting you, but also you have all your sections mapped out. So it's really easy just to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You can get through it really fast. Shades ALK has a really nice liquid cream consistency. So it's perfect whether you're using a bowl and a brush or if you just want to use a bottle. But check this out. Super smooth. Before we actually get into the application, let's just talk a little bit about where we're starting. If you look closely here, we've got about 1 inch of regrowth, and that to me looks about 75% gray. If you look really closely, you'll see how much more gray there is in the front and how it gets to be a little bit less as we work to the back. So when I'm thinking about formulating color, we want to make sure that we're formulating the right color for each portion of gray. Generally, when you're working with a higher percentage of gray, that's when we're going to add more background to our color, and that's going to keep it looking natural, especially with redheads. If you're feeling like your reds are getting browned out, just make sure you're adding the right percentage of a natural shade or even a gold beige to add that background and keep things looking natural, but also vibrant. Remember, if you just put straight red on white, what do you think you're going to get? It's probably pink or orange. The background is really important to give that really true, natural looking ginger shade. So we're going to start in the Zone 1 application. And this is when you can really see that liquid cream consistency coming into play. I find especially when you're doing a gray coverage color that's really only a 20-minute process, you have to have a lot of speed. Again, the sectioning really helps with your speed, but also the consistency of the color. Because it's so smooth to apply, you can really just take your sections and lay the color right on top. And that liquid cream consistency is going to get right through those subsections. Now, we've got about 1 inch of new growth here, and you'll notice that it's a pretty stark line. So as I'm applying, you also want to make sure that you're letting the feathering of the brush lift that color slightly past that Zone 1. And that's going to help to soften out the blend between the previous color as well as the new color. Not only are you creating gray coverage, you're also making sure that everything melts seamlessly together. I really wanted to start in the front too, because like we talked about just a moment ago, you saw how there was a lot more of that gray to cover up here. It's really important to make sure that the color's saturating that, especially up where it needs the most coverage. Generally, these gray hairs are going to be a lot more resistant, so getting that color on there first thing is going to help ensure the best coverage you can get. My subsections are about 1/4 inch thick. I'm trying not to go too thick so that way the color can really seep through. And if you think about it, when you apply color to a super thick section, you end up brushing a lot more often. If I'm spending all of my time brushing each section multiple times, really smushing it in, think about how much time I'm actually wasting just by applying color to the same spot. If you can, take your subsections about 1/4 inch thick, really just lay that bead of color on. And a tip that I actually learned in a class here at the Exchange when I first started doing color was to use the brush to grab an entire bead, just like so. And then you can just lay it right on the section of hair you're coloring, and you can move on. As we're working our way down, you'll notice that I'm actually avoiding that front hairline. There is a reason. Of course, yeah, the front hairline tends to process color a little bit faster, but also it tends to stain really badly up in the forehead. My guests definitely don't like leaving with color all over their forehead. Once I get through most of the section, I'm going to show you a little trick so that you can keep things really clean around the hairline. Continue taking these sections, and you'll also notice that they're slightly diagonal. The reason we're doing that is so that we can keep the color away from the face. It's really easy to direct the hair away, and that's going to keep everything really clean and off the guest's face. Now, as we're applying this zone 1, I'm already thinking about what we're going to be doing on zones 2 and 3. As you're working with your colors, especially because this is 20-minute processing, you want to make sure you've got your game plan all set up. This application should be super quick, and that's the whole point of the service. Think about how many more guests you're able to serve great coverage to with this kind of a quick service. You're getting a revolutionary color, and it might actually require practicing your application a little bit more. The color is super smooth, the liquid cream consistency is great, but the processing time is going to make you need to speed up. Make sure you're working on that clean application and also your speed. Now, as we get to the front hairline, I'm going to start to show you a little trick to keep things clean. We're taking our last sections and applying that bead of color, and I'm going to apply a little bit more color than I would want to just behind this first front section. Get as close as you can to that front hairline, apply your color, and now all you want to do is press that hairline down slightly and just finish saturating with the edge of the brush. Now look how close we were able to get to the scalp without actually staining the skin. Here, especially around the ear, the hairline can be a little bit erratic. So this is when you can just take the corners of the brush to make sure that you're doing a slightly more precise application. And I like to swipe it away from the face and kind of grab onto those little grays, those little pesky guys. Just make sure they're all nice and covered. But you can just apply a little bead of color to the corner of your brush, and that's going to be just enough to glue that gray back and get it nice and covered. We just finished applying the zone 1 color, so it's already started processing. Now, we need to refresh the reds that's going on the ends. I've mixed up a separate formula to handle the zone 2 and 3 areas. If you notice, there's a pretty faded kind of moment happening on these ends, and it looks a lot more hollow. It's like missing some of that background, but I kind of like that because we want to keep it really vibrant. I've actually mixed up straight 7C in the Shades ALK, and that's just true tone. So no background, but what you're going to notice at the end is how it really boosts the vibrancy of this copper, still keeping it natural, but feeling a lot more fresh. I've switched to a bottle applicator. It's going to help me with speed. The great thing about this color is also the liquid cream consistency makes it really ideal whenever you're applying with the bottle because it's going to flow really easily onto the hair. Now, if you're mixing color, one thing you can also do is just make sure to squeeze the air out of that bottle first. Then you can cover up the hole and just shake the color, and you won't get that spillage and that waste that tends to happen whenever you're mixing color in a bottle. Have you ever found that the reds that are in your chair, they're really vibrant one day and then suddenly they get a little bit browned out? That's a pretty common issue, honestly. Sometimes it's really about the formulation. Imagine that you have your guest, she comes in to see you every 5 weeks, and every time she comes back to the salon, you use the same formula. If your formula has background, like we just talked about earlier, you're going to keep adding more and more background every single time you go in and apply that color. So eventually, you're going to overload the hair with brown. Suddenly, you don't have as much of that red. We've mixed up 7C in the bottle here so that we can keep a lot of the vibrancy because I think you'll agree, there's plenty of brown in here already. We just need to make it a little bit more vibrant. You might already be doing this kind of principle with Shades EQ Gloss, which is fantastic. What I want you to think about is the finish that you're going to be getting. But when you're working with something like Shades EQ Gloss, you've probably experienced really beautiful shine, really vibrant hair color with a soft finish, maybe a little bit more dimensional. Why I'm really excited about ALK is because for my reds, I often prefer to have a little bit more of an intense punch to the reds. And this color being alkaline, it's going to help really drive that color deeper into the hair, so it'll be longer lasting, but also have a little bit more of a vibrant feeling to it than what I could get with Shades EQ Gloss. I'm using 2 formulas. The second formula I'm using is similar to the root formula. This is the 6CB with 5C. And we're going to pull some of these sections down with the root formula to extend it. This is adding a bit of a low light into the hair. While we're covering the gray, we're adding vibrancy. We're also adding lowlights because one thing we talked about in the consultation was adding dimension. Notice how we put that color all the way through zone 2, and now the very ends that are browned out, I'm going back in with the 7C to make sure that they were really beautiful copper. If you leave a little bit of space between that hair color, you can then go back in and blend the two together and you'll get a nice third color to melt them seamlessly. I love finding ways to keep it really fun and exciting with my placement, as well as different ways to try different colors out on my guests without it feeling so committal. You might have a guest who's never done red in her life, but this could be a chance to try a different placement, maybe add a few sprinkles of more vibrant color into their hair. And the great part is, this semi-permanent is going to condition the hair even more so than a permanent color would. So I'm going to continue this application all the way up, doing intersecting diagonal sections, and I'll catch up with you once we move into the front. We got to the front, and here's where things can get tricky when you're doing dimensional color especially. So if I go through and do dimensional color on each side, there is a higher chance that you're going to see a really big difference on both sides. One thing I'll do before I start the sectioning here is I'll just make sure to get a mohawk section right around the part, and it should be at least an inch around the part. And this is going to make sure that your dimensional color application flows evenly on both sides. Now, if you are a side part girly, this means that it goes to the side part, but since we're working with a natural middle part, that's where I'm placing the mohawk section. Just get that clean and out of the way. Here again, you can see how some of this color really close, it doesn't feel like it's so cohesive here. So these are the spots that I'm also looking out for as I'm doing the application, because we want to make sure that we're getting a nice consistent color all the way through. I'm just going to continue working with diagonal sections, but now we're going to do diagonal forward so that we can really direct the hair away from the face as we apply the color. I'm going to split that section in two, and I'm going to extend the dark a little bit further in the back part of the section. I split the section in two, and I'm extending the darker color a little bit further through the back of the section. And in the front, we're just going to extend it a teeny bit. This is also going to stagger some of that light that we already have in the color, and it's going to give us some natural highlights without having to use lightener. Remember, use a true tone shade like 7C when you don't want to add any background, but you just want to boost the vibrancy. Once your sections get wide, you can continue to take the two sections, or you can always split it into three, and you can change your lighting. In this section, I'm going to extend the dark just in the middle portion. This is going to give two highlights on either side with some depth in between. But you can alternate this and really create endless dimension. But just by using diagonal partings and staggering your colors, you can create this really cool refracting effect that gives the hair a ton of dimension that doesn't really start and stop anywhere in particular. We're in the mohawk section, and we're just going to continue with these diagonal sections all the way through. Think about a zipper pattern. You're working with one diagonal and then intersecting the opposite diagonal until you get to the very front. Now, you may be looking at this color and asking yourself, well, if you're doing red, why does it look purple? It's just a part of the color. Most color oxidizes. It's, just a part of the dye process. Once you mix this with the peroxide developer, it'll oxidize and we'll get a little purple. But trust me, when it's all done, it's going to be a really beautiful bright copper. I'm finishing up the last subsections here. Once we're done with the application, Mickey will go and process for 20 minutes. And that's crazy. That's all she needs for this great coverage. But just 20 minutes processing, and then we're going to catch right back up when we go to shampoo. I'm going to use the Redken Acidic Color Gloss Shampoo and Conditioner. It's just going to maintain the color and give it a lot of shine so that it looks really beautiful at the end. We're back from cleansing and conditioning, and you can already see how much more vibrant and shiny the color is. I'm pretty excited to style this. We're going to put some products in before we blow dry. I'm going to apply some of the Acidic Color Gloss leave-in, and this is going to give some heat protection and shine and just really complement the shampoo and condition we just did. Let's get started. Can't wait for you to see this.
Me too. Oh my goodness. This looks amazing.
So pretty. It's just like so much more vibrant in that shine.
Yeah, for sure.
Love.
Wow. Great coverage too.
Yeah, honestly, that is crazy. It's fully covered.
Wow. Thank you.
That's good. My pleasure. There you have it. full gray coverage with Shades ALK. Now, for the colors I used today, our full education offerings, as well as our level loyalty program, check out the description below. And when you try this look, be sure to tag Redken across all platforms so we can celebrate your work. But for now, we're going to go celebrate this hair, and we'll see you next month.